Hi, dear friends. This is Bob Hatton. This is the Encourager. I just find this study so encouraging and so good to read. We yesterday we had a look about where does the blessing go? Which way does the blessing find to continue? And of course, we had a look at Abraham. Abraham, a wonderful man of faith, a man who believes God, against all the odds, and God gives him a son when he's so very, very old. And then we find out that Isaac, who he also gets the blessing of God, and that the blessing is given then to Jacob, who is the second of the twins. He's not the firstborn, he's the secondborn, but still he gets the blessing. And then we saw that Jacob, this second twin, Jacob, he has 12 sons, and we're asking ourselves, where can the blessing go to? Which of these 12 boys will get the blessing? Well, of course, we know that it was Judah. And I'd just like to read from Genesis 49, verse 10. You see, Jacob has now gathered his sons together. It's shortly before he dies. And he lays hands on each son, and he prophesies over them. And when he comes to Judah, he says the following in verse 10 from chapter 49 of Genesis. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. And this is telling us that it's in his line, his lineage, that the Messiah will come. The scepter, the kingship is there. But he's the fourth born. No, it's the firstborn who gets the blessing. Yeah, with Jacob, he was the deceiver. And during the time of Esau sold him the blessing for a plate of soup. Esau, he despised the blessing that God wanted to give him. So let's have a look at this. Now, the firstborn, Jacob's firstborn, is called Reuben. And Reuben was very ambitious, but he was also impatient. And shortly after the death of Rachel, Reuben goes and he sleeps with one of his father's wives and brings, humiliation upon his father. He missed it. He blew it. He lost God's blessing. And then the next two sons, that's Simeon and Levi, they disobey their father. They are disobedient because he tells them that they got to contain themselves. But their sister was raped. And these two guys, these two brothers, they go and they take vengeance upon the man who raped their sister. They kill him. Now that is the spirit of Lamech. That is the law of Lamech, who is a bloodthirsty person in the Old Testament. That's not the law of God. That's not the spirit of God, and that's not what Jacob told them to do. So these three brothers, they've just blown it. And Jacob, of course, he preferred the two sons of Rachel. He loved them more than the other sons. He gave them many more advantages. He even set Joseph up as being the person who would get the best blessing and get his inheritance. And he gave Benjamin the special name, the son of my right hand, indicating that there was something royal about this boy. Now we come to Judah, and Judah was just as much a failure as all the other brothers. Now, Judah had a daughter-in-law called Tamar, and Tamar was married to, I think the son was called Onan, and Onan died. And so as the custom was, the next brother took her as his wife. The next brother was called Er, I think, and Er also died. So she was left again as a widow. And there was another son, and this son was quite younger. So Judah said, wait until he's old enough. And when he was old enough, though, Judah went to marry his son off to somebody else. And so here is Tamar. She is left a widow. No one is looking after her. She's lonely and abandoned, more or less. Now, Judah also loses his wife. He becomes a widower. And I suppose in the time of when he's in mourning, when he's in great distress, he wants to have some comfort or something, and he goes to a friend and he asks his friend, where can he find a prostitute? And the friend says, well, he heard that there's a prostitute there and there and there. So Tamar hears about this, and she goes to this place where this prostitute is supposed to be. She dresses herself like a prostitute, and in comes Judah. And Judah lies with her. They have sex together. And Tamar asks him for some kind of a token. And he gives her then his staff, a symbol of his authority. And then he returns home. A short time later, Judah notices that his daughter-in-law is expecting a baby. She's getting bigger all the time. She's pregnant. And of course, he's very angry with her. This is this self-righteousness of the men. He has done whatever he pleases, but the women have to do what as they're told, and so on. But anyway, he gets very angry with her, and what she does is she produces the token that she's received from her father-in-law, and he realizes that the child that she's carrying is in fact his child. And now something happens that is very remarkable. We're still at the beginning of the Bible. We're still relatively early on in the history of mankind. And Judah, he is the very first man that has ever done this, the very first person. He admits his guilt. He says, this woman is more righteous than I am, and he begins to confess his sin. In the New Testament, we have a wonderful promise in 1 John chapter 1 and verse 9. And there it says that if we confess our sin, that Jesus is faithful and just and will forgive our sin, and the blood of Jesus washes us from all unrighteousness. Judah confessed his sin. He is the first man in the whole mankind, in the history of mankind. He is the first one who confessed his sin. And you know what happens? The blessing of God comes to him. It's through Judah that the blessing of God will come to the earth. Now, just before the baby is born, Tamar finds out that she's going to have twins, and something very special happens, that the babies in the mother's womb, they are fighting, and one is just about to be born and the other one pulls him away, and he is born first. So she gives him the name Perez, and Perez means the one that means breakthrough. He is the one who breaks through. He's very much like his mother. His mother is not satisfied to wear the clothes of a widowhood. She believes that God has got something more. She believes that God has got a destiny for her, and she gets a hold of this destiny. And so, my friends, I just want to encourage you today that maybe this is the day that you leave go of your clothes of mourning, your clothes of distress, and that you get a hold of your God-given destiny. Jesus is the one who gives us breakthrough. I just want to encourage you to follow Jesus, the one who breaks through the walls, the one who breaks through and leads us into our God-given destiny and blessing. That's a great story. God bless you. Have a good day. You're Bob Hatton, your encourager.